Hi there, this is Clifford Bates, and welcome to our beginning of reading Montesquieu's Spirit of the Laws. Today, we're going to be looking at a brief introduction of the preface and the what was called the author's introduction and the preface. I'm ahead of myself, so this is the author introduction, forward, the author's forward, and then the preface. So let's go to do with this Montesquieu's Spirit of the Laws. In order to understand the first four books of this work, one must note that what I call virtue in virtue in a republic is love of the homeland. That is, love of equality. It is not a moral virtue or a Christian virtue, but it is a political virtue. And this is the spring that makes Republican government moves, as honor is the spring that makes monarchy move. Therefore, I have called the love of homeland and of equality political virtue. I have had I had I have had new ideas, new words have had to be found, or new meanings given to old ones. Those who have not understood this, have made me say absurdities that would be outrageous to every country in the world, because in every country in the world morality is desired. Two, it should be observed that there is a very great difference between saying that a certain quality, modification of the soul, or virtue, is not the spring of a government act, and saying that the spring that makes a government act, saying that virtue is not the spring that makes government act, and saying that it is not present in that government. So he's not saying that it's not present. If I were to say that if I were to say that a certain wheel and a certain gear is not the spring that makes this watch move, would one conclude that is not present in the watch? Far from excluding moral and Christian virtues, monarchy does not even exclude political virtue. In a word, honor is in the republic through political virtue. In the word, honor is in a republic, though political virtue is its spring. Political virtue is in a monarchy, though honor is its spring. Finally, the good man discussed in Book 3, Chapter 5 is not the good Christian man, but the good political man, who has the political virtue I have mentioned. He is the man who loves the laws of his country and who acts from love of the laws of his country. I have put all these matters in a I have put all these matters in a new light in the present edition by further specifying the ideas. In more places where I've used the word virtue, I've written political virtue. Right? So, therefore, this is the forward to the 1757 edition. If among the infinite numbers of things in this book there is any contrary to my expectation might give offense, at least there is none that has been put there with ill intent. By nature, I have not at all the censor spirit. Plato thanked heaven that he was born in the time of in Socrates' times. As for me, I am grateful that heaven had me born in the government which I live, and that I wanted me to obey those whom it had me love. I asked a favor, and I fear it will not be granted. That it is that one judge by a moment reading the work of 20 years that one approve or condemn a book as a whole and not some sentence. If one wants to seek the design of the author, one can only find it in the design of their work. I began by examining men. I believe that amidst the infinite diversity of laws and mores, they were not led by their fancies alone. I have set down principles, and I have seen particular cases conform to them as by themselves. The histories of all nations being but their consequence, and every particular law connecting with another law are dependent on more general points. When I turned to antiquity, I sought to capture its spirit in order not to consider it as similar those cases with real differences, or overlook differences in those that appear similar. I did not draw my principles from my prejudices, but from the nature of things. Many of the truths will make themselves felt here only when one sees the chain connecting them with others. The more one reflects on the details, the more one will feel the certainty of the principle. As for the details, I have not given them all, for who could say everything without being tedious? The sallies that seem to characterize present day works will not be found here. The approaches and the way. As soon as matters are seen from a certain distance, such sallies vanish. They usually arise because the mind attaches itself to a single point and forsakes all others. I do not write to censor that which is established in any country whatsoever. Each nation will find here reason for its maxims, and the consequence will naturally be drawn from them that change can be produced only by those who are born fortunate enough to fathom a stroke of genius, the work of the host, to fathom by a stroke of genius the whole of the state's constitution. It is not a matter of indifference that a people be enlightened. The prejudices of magistrates began as the prejudice of the nation. In time of ignorance, no one doubts, even while doing the greatest evil. In enlightened times, everyone trembles, even while doing the greatest good. One feels the old abuses and see their corrections, but one also sees the abuses of the corrections itself. One lets an ill remain if one fears something worse. One lets a good remain if one is in doubt about a better. One looks at the part only in order to judge the whole. One examines all causes in order to see the result. If I could make it so that everyone had new reasons for loving his duties, his prince and his homeland and his laws, and that each could feel his happiness in his own country, government, and position, I would consider myself the happiest of mortals. If I could make it so that those who command increased their knowledge of what they could prescribe, and that those who've only found a new pleasure in obeying, I would consider myself the happiest of mortals. I would consider myself the happiest of mortals if I could make it so that men were able to cure themselves of their prejudices. Here I call prejudices not what makes one unaware of a certain thing, but what makes one aware of oneself. By seeking to instruct men, one can practice the general virtue that includes a love of all. Man, that flexible being who adapts himself in society to the thought and impressions of others, is equally capable of knowing his own nature when it is shown to him, and losing it, and of losing even the feeling of it when it is concealed from him. Many times I began this work, and many times I have abandoned it. 1,000 times I cast to the wind the pages I had written. Every day I felt my paternal hand drop. I followed my object without forming a design. I knew neither rules nor exceptions. I found the truth only to lose it. But when I discovered my principles, all that I'd sought came to me. In the course of 20 years, I saw my work begin, grow, and move ahead and end. If this work meets with success, I shall owe much of it to the majesty of the subject. Still, I do not believe that I have totally lacked genius. While I have seen what so many men in France, England, and Germany have written before me, I too have benefited with wonder, but I've also not lost courage. I too am a painter, have I said with Correggio. Now that's that. This is that I'm too painting. Recommend mark that of Correggio in the spring, Raphael Saint Sincere. In other words, he's like Correggio saying, "I'm too a painter," as he's seen the story, Raphael Saint Cecilia, the story that. So I am too a painter. So this ends our little brief introduction to Montesquieu. It's short; it's not that long, so it should start that. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below, and I'll respond to them when I see them. If you have any, you like the video, like it, share it. This is the beginning of my series. We should turn next. If you didn't like it, don't like it. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Get others to subscribe. You can follow my links, my social links below. If you want to help and contribute to what I do here to help me fund it, you can do it through Patreon, subscribe star, the alternative Patreon. But either way, you can do this. Now, another thing you can do is what you can buy my book. So I have three books out there now. Buying the current one, the Lulu one, would be more beneficial because I'm the publisher of it, and therefore I'm not really the publisher, but I do it through Lulu. So if you buy it through Lulu, I get the bookstore's profit. So if you can buy it through Amazon, those places, but then they get the profit. Or buy Lulu directly. It's again, the book in question is, you can see it that is a notebook on Aristotle's politics, a notebook for Aristotle's politics. Uh, oh, yeah, a notebook for Aristotle's politics. Yes. So that's it. That's again, if you want to help me in this. Well, I end it. Next. We're going to be doing here right to book one. We'll do book one as a clip because it's a short book. So we'll stop here, and I'll say goodbye and see you soon. And next time when we look at book one of Montesquieu Spirit of Law. Take care. Bye bye.